July 2023 we bring issue 3 of Living Proof magazine. A printed magazine by Angel and Z Radio, available exclusively through our Patreon. Issue 3 features post VSOP, Mayhem Lauren, Lions BF, a look into Marty Smart Crew's Black Book, Leo Fitzpatrick and more. Issue 3 of Living Proof magazine will only be available for the month of July 2023, will be sent to our Patreon members, and will never be rerun afterwards. Featuring an in-depth 14-page interview with post VSOP, photos of poster and mayhem bombing, words and photos from the archives of Lions BF, scans from over 20 pages from the books of Marty Smart Crew, an interview with Leo Fitzpatrick speaking on Public Access Gallery, and more. The long wait is over. Living Proof magazine, issue 3. Now available and shipped to our Patreon members for the month of July 2023. Members also gain access to our episode and video library, featuring interviews and videos from Ichabod the Rail God, Savvy OTR, Glare, Les YKK, and more. Immense thank you to everyone.
Angel and Z Radio is a show brought to you by the wonderful people at Art Primo. A graffiti shop like no other that has been proudly serving the community for decades from New York to Seattle and beyond. They have everything you need, and you probably need everything they have. Mops, paint, inks, sketchbooks, stickers, bags, and much, much more. Believe me, you will not want to miss this. artprimo.com. Enjoy the episode and goodbye.
Like I said, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, no problem, man.
So I guess, how are you feeling? How's your leg doing? Yeah.
It's good. Leg is feeling better. Pretty much like fully recovered from that injury. I'm still doing like physical therapy for it. And I have to wear like a brace or whatever, but feeling like, day by day, like better and better. But that doesn't, stop me from like injuring myself other ways. Like the other day I like hit my head in this like on the ceiling of this like parking garage, and I like gave myself a fucking concussion. And I feel like shit from it. And I also rolled my ankle recently. So it's just like there's always like something.
Yeah. What exactly happened with the leg injury? I saw that it involved a car, and it was your tibia, right?
Yeah, I got a tibia plateau fracture. So I was and I tore my MCL. I was on a FA trip in Atlanta, and it was like one of the last days of the trip. And we were skating in this parking lot, and like I was just like watching my friend do a trick, and I was kind of like riding my board through an intersection of a parking lot, and yeah, and then just like I turn around, and then boom, like there's no time for me to like do anything, and then it basically just hit me like directly in the kneecap. Like I got kneecapped pretty much. And I flew back, I just like grabbed my leg, and I was like, oh, fuck. And I didn't go to the hospital because I was like in denial that it was actually fucked up. And then I woke up, and it was like, the size of like it was just like super swollen. And then went to the hospital, got an x-ray, and then they told me, that about the tibia plateau fracture. And then when I got home, I got an MRI, and then they were like, yeah, you tore your MCL. And so they didn't know if I needed to get surgery. And then like a couple months later, I went back and got another MRI. And then they were like, oh, you don't need to get surgery. So.
Oh, they said you didn't need surgery?
No, yeah, I didn't have to get surgery.
Okay, so what was the recovery process like? Like you pretty much just waited on it?
Basically, yeah, I just like, started doing like PT. And, I was like doing it like on and off. But yeah, that's it pretty much.
How was your mind doing during this time? Because I kind of thought about this a lot, and as someone who is like, if you're skating for a living and you're kind of prone to injury by default, just because of like the act of what it is you're doing. And you spend so much time doing that, and you probably just grew up spending so much time doing that. That's how you know, get to that point to begin with. Then you get some injury like that, and you're just kind of out of commission, just sitting around. What were you doing during that time period? How did your mind feel? Or like, was it emotionally difficult? I talked to Cyrus Bennett, and he had like a knee injury that put him out of commission for a while. And that shit, like, just in anything that you love to do, and then you end up not being able to do it for quite a lot of time, not out of your own free will, it can be very difficult.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't really, I knew that it would be devastating, but I think I like just tried to maybe like pretend like it was all good, that I didn't really care. Um, and like it turned out to just be like the worst thing ever. And like if I could go back and like do it again, I would just do everything in my power to kind of to just like focus on like recovering and all this other stuff I was doing, because I was doing like other stuff. Like I had like an art show and I was still like hanging out with friends and like I wish I had just like focused 100% on like recovering because your health is really like is so important and I was also living in New York at the time and just like it wasn't really like the top on my list of stuff like my health um and now you know just having like gone through that whole thing yeah, it was devastating though, man, for sure, like mentally. um it is skating is like my way of self-expression and I just love skating and the physicality of it is great. And the social aspect of it. Yeah, so I was just like very like isolated when it happened. And it was like right at the beginning of summer too. So it was just like
Yeah.
sucked.
So how do you think you've, like, having gone through it, how long of the process was it?
Um, I think from what I remember, I couldn't really even walk for like 4 months at least, like 3 or 4 months. Like I couldn't put any weight on it. And then I was in like I had like crutches, like wheelchairs and all this shit. Um, and then, once you can kind of like start walking again, your muscle is just super weak. And then so you can kind of walk around and stuff, but then you you can't really skate for a while. So altogether, I mean, it's been like a year, and it's still I would say like I'm on the last leg of the recovery now. But so yeah, like a year pretty much.
Yeah, you said in some interview, I believe you did it in, I was reading up on it in March of 2023, so pretty recently, uh that you're trying to make a comeback in skating due to the injury that you had that kind of set you back, and you were like on the painkillers and all those things, where it's kind of like self-regulated, to be honest with you, and it's pretty nuts like when you really break it down and think about it. And in any case, you were saying how this thing that happened with the injury, it messed up your life and it was very difficult to deal with, but then it might have actually been a good thing. What do you mean by that, that it might have actually been a good thing?
I don't know, just like everything kind of happens for a reason, I think. And um yeah, it kind of just led me to like getting sober and then just like becoming more aware of like my health and how important it is and that kind of stuff. and just like not taking it for granted as much. And I don't know, just kind of like redefining this new time of my life.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was like a great thing, but I think there's different ways of like framing it.
Do you see your life as something that's kind of been just that, like different phases and different time periods? Because when I think about you, this is the first time I've talked to you, but just for a long time as someone who skated his whole life and been really into all these things, it really hit me before this conversation that like, wow, holy shit, like this is someone who at a super young age has been in some sense of like spotlight, some sense of like not very traditional normal things happening to you. And it kind of seems very back to back. Like the more I delved into it, the more I realized like it's really been one thing after another, one thing after another, and all very, very organically, right place, right time, and mixture of like talent and passion and all these things going down. And it reminded me of a conversation I had with someone, and they said that like when they got scouted to be in this film, it kind of changed their life at such a young age. They didn't really know what they were going into and how that was going to impact everything and how that's going to essentially change your entire style of living. Um, now that you're like the whole cherry thing is been done, do you ever think about that time period and say, like, holy shit, that was pretty fucking crazy?
Um, yeah, yes and no. I mean, I feel like not really that much changed in terms of like my lifestyle. Um, it was crazy that I got to just like skate in and be in a video with like all my heroes, at such a young age. That was, you know, I can definitely like be proud of that for like my whole life. Um, and yeah, to answer your question, I don't know. I was just too young to like really like really know what was even going on. I was just like having so much fun and um yes, I wasn't really thinking about it. I guess now kind of, I think about it, but um I wouldn't like change anything. It
As
was just
as being in the public eye, how was it how old were you when all of this was happening, when you first started to really be in the public eye?
um probably around like 15, 16. I was 16 when Cherry came out, so I filmed it when I was, when we were like 15.
That's wild. That's
I'm
so wild.
25 now, so it's 10 years ago.
Yeah, in 10 years, like, I mean, that video was extremely influential to me, to all my friends, to pretty much, everyone. Even something interesting is way beyond the scope of skateboarding. And I think that's a very like that's an extremely impactful thing for just our culture and our time and our era. Um, I don't even like, in my eyes, it is a skate video, but like I like don't even consider it really to fall in the line of like skateboarding videos. I more of think of it as like a cultural phenom thing. So to have been played a part in that, I was just wondering if that trips you out at all, or if it's been so organic that not really at all.
Right. Um, yeah, I agree. It's more of like an art, like a video, what do you call it? Like a visual, just kind of like representation of art. And like, yeah, it's less of like a skate video as it is just kind of more of like a movie, like a cinematic. I want to rewatch it. I haven't seen it in a little while, but I did watch it a bunch of times, so I do remember. Um, and yeah, I do remember just being like, it was one of my favorite videos because like all those guys are like my favorites. They were then and they are now. Yeah, so like the cultural like phenomenon thing. Um, I think like once you like put something out and then people can kind of just like interpret it however they want, and it's sort of like out of our hands at that point. And I don't think it was really anyone's intention to like disrupt the whatever, like the culture. But I just think like everyone in the video just is so unique that like it was almost impossible not to um it just, it was just so much different than like anything that had really come before it or after it. I feel like it was just like pretty crazy. Yeah, so to answer your question, yes.
I feel like it's aged very well too, because a lot of the times, like, I kind of grew up watching like some circa videos, mystery videos, and things like that, and a lot of, not that those don't age well, but I feel like Cherry aged in a way where it's only been what you said, 10 years, right? Um, but all of the people in it kind of went and did like something ill afterwards, you know what I mean? And a lot, I feel like that, caused some sort of domino effect, not just in like the community and the culture and the arts or anything like that, but just it also created a domino effect, I feel, for all of the people involved, probably including you. You've said in the past that the Converse thing came about kind of through that, and and all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Um, a lot of stuff kind of started to happen after that. And um, yeah, we were just like traveling. I remember just like traveling so much around that age. And yeah, and kind of being like a known skater and like not really knowing how to. I was just still like really just happy to be there. And like I was I was just skating still the same like passion. And you know, as you get older, like I got into like my 20s, and then I put out the blessed part, and that was kind of like that was like probably the hardest I've like worked on something. And then after that, you know, I kind of just got like I got a little bit like lost. And yeah, like living in New York and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I would say it's like pretty common for that to happen. But
What do you mean by lost?
um I don't know, just like not taking skating like as seriously as I should have been. Or maybe just like kind of got like complacent. Um and like just being too young to like realize like how great I had it, or I have it still. And there was just like a couple years where I just kind of like took it easy. And um yeah. um but yeah, I think living in New York as a young man, just kind of like having like absolute kind of freedom, anyone would kind of, you know get lost there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, do you still feel that same passion for skateboarding as you did when you were, say, 15, 16, 14? Especially doing it more as an, not just like a career path, but you got other things going on in your life and you're really into art and making music and having shows, shooting photos and doing all this stuff. Does it take your attention away from skating? Does it make it feel like this is less of a thing that you're kind of like obsessed with reaching this kind of ideal or this aim?
No, I think I'm like more into skating now than like I ever have been, or at least like the same as when I was that age, since I was basically like 10 years old. I don't think I've ever really lost the passion for it. Because without skating, I really wouldn't have the opportunity to like do all this other stuff. And especially being injured, it really made me miss it a lot. And yeah, there's just kind of shit happening in my personal life that like I'm on top of like getting hurt. And I don't know. Right now I just have like a wide open kind of like um all I want to do is skate and just like, you know, just like be healthy like for the next half of my 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
What does being healthy look like to you? What do you describe that as?
Um, well, I moved away from New York because it was just like um too much all at once. Like I don't know. I feel like I talk about this in like a lot of shit, so it's like kind of boring, but um I guess I see health as just doing what's actually important to you and doing like for in my case what I love to do is I love just skating and working on projects and like when you're in New York there's a lot of distractions and it doesn't really feel like a bad thing, but then when you look back on a couple years spent there, it's just really easy to let time kind of just fly by there. And like I said, I wouldn't change anything, but I'm happy that I don't really have like anything tying me down like right now. Like I can kind of just go wherever and do whatever. And and then yeah, also not being injured is just like amazing. Um it's given me such a new like excitement that I haven't felt in a long time. But yeah, I think it's being healthy mentally for me is just being able to work on stuff and just having no real um problems. Whether that be like getting being like hungover and stuff, like that stuff, I'm just like I'm done with all that stuff. And then that ties in, that's such a like mental and physical thing, you know um so yeah, really just focusing on my health like kind of for the first time. And because when you're a teenager and like in your 20s you don't really like think about that stuff. And I don't know, it's cool. It's like it's kind of just like a new chapter in my life.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to think about New York as a place, um, because it is a place that has birthed so much of what is any style of art in in the world today. It's kind of like a place that has really just concentrated in the span of, like, I think about downtown Manhattan a lot of the times, in the span of just a few essential streets. Like New York is big, but like where a lot of these things took place isn't actually that big. And so many people throughout the eras have come or are from here or whatever. And they just did so much. Like I'm very influenced by graffiti and graffiti culture and the history that of where it comes from in New York and how it spread to here or did that and the third. And then I'm also very into like graffiti as a thing that then a lot of these graffiti writers, especially in this era that we're living in now, go on to become painters or go on to become like designers or go on to, and a lot of it is tied into New York and also just more I mean, not to use the word mainstream, but more like mainstream artists who are just more known and widely respected. It's like it's so intertwined with New York. However, it is a place that is commonly known for people coming here and kind of getting lost or overwhelmed because there's so much to do and there's so much to And my question to you is like, in terms of you and making art and like your projects and all that stuff, you don't think New York is the best place for it?
Um, for me personally, I just couldn't do it anymore. I lived there for like 7 years or 8 years or something. And even though it does have a lot of good stuff about it, like just socially, you can just walk out of your door and or bump into people, and then you just end up like having a weird, crazy day. And so there's like a lot of inspiration to draw from people, and yeah, and the city itself is like a, you know, has a personality. And so I don't know, but like also you kind of have to just be like really rich to live there. And it's like, so for like artists, I don't know if it's like the best place to really be, like young artists and stuff, because you really have to be like making a lot of money to like live there comfortably. So I don't know. I just wanted to like try it, and I did. And like I could always go back if I wanted to, maybe, but I kind of just like checked it off. And
Oh, so you don't plan on coming back?
not like in the foreseeable future, but maybe. I don't know.
So
I
where you
really don't have like an address right now. So I'm just like, right now I'm in like Miami. Before I was in LA. Um, so I'll probably just be like hopping around. It's about to be summer, so like it's gonna be hot as hell here. Um, but yeah, dude.
how different is I guess your daily life being in Miami or being in LA versus that of being in New York?
Um, very different, I would say. Miami is pretty relaxing. Going to the beach, skating. LA, I was just like pretty much getting in the van and like going skating majority of the days. So there's a lot more, and also just like a lot more downtime. Um, because in New York you could always just like, I would always just like ride my bike around. If I had nothing to do, I would just like ride my bike around the city, and like, you just bump into people. And or you could just always go to like Tompkins and like run into people there. Or like I lived across the street from Tompkins actually, so I got like sick of it there because I I was always there.
Yeah, you're pretty much there's no way you're gonna step outside your place and not see 1,000 people and get into a
Yeah.
thousand.
Yeah, which was kind of you know, it's nice to just kind of have like a little more privacy, you know, as I get older.
What do you think about how all of this that you've experienced going through the Cherry thing, going through the leg injury, going through just all that you've gone through, moving places, being in Miami, being in LA, being in New York. How does that affect the way that you go about the art that you make? How does that affect the way that you pretty much do anything? And what do you consider in terms of art? What do you consider, not that you even need one, but what do you consider your medium?
Yeah, that's a good question. Photography, um, like music. I play music. Um, I don't know, writing. I've been doing that a little bit. Um, I really want to get into painting. My dad is a painter, and so he's gonna like show me how to do it, hopefully, when I come back to LA. I don't know, skating. Um, I want to make, well, I make like clothing and stuff like that's You know, I'm usually in charge of like the photo shoots. So that's another way. Um yeah, just like staying busy.
Mm.
Um but yeah.
What is the thing that is there anything that you desire? Is there something that like your inspiration towards doing all these things? Because a lot of people, I guess their main inspiration, to be honest with you, most I feel like the bulk of society is like survival, straight up.
Yeah.
Uh, it's like survival and just like having enough to like simply do something as simple as like pay rent and have some money in case some crazy accident happens or something like that. But once you get past that point and like you're getting further into like the hierarchy of needs and like you start exploring more things, um, what do you feel like it is for you that drives you? Like you've already done quite a bit in skateboarding, yet you say you kind of like skateboarding more or the same now as ever. What is it that you think drives you? What is it like something that you desire? Like what are you aiming for in your life right now?
I don't know. I just feel when I like don't do anything for the day, I just start to get really like um kind of almost anxious. Like I'm just so used to um going out every day, just like being with my friends and skating. And you know, some days it's like raining or whatever, you're hurt. So you kind of just gotta like figure out other ways to get that like kind of energy out. But it's all kind of the same, I feel like the same like basic instinct. Um, but so yeah, I don't know. It's kind of just like out of necessity. I think I would just be doing this regardless of whether or not but it is amazing to like have all those needs met. And I'm super lucky that I can, you know, do what I love to do for my living. And and like and also the platform that it's given me and it's given like others is amazing too. And it really just can lead to like a number of different things, you know. For me it's led to, you know, having a clothing business and designing shoes and like meeting some of my heroes and like um yeah, but it's all kind of the same like instinct. I think it's just like wanting to it's just like wanting to like realize your potential and like satisfy like some craving or or like I don't know, just for like a accomplishment. Like you know, you want to like go out and get the trick you've been battling. And like once you do it, it's just like a satisfying feeling. Um and I feel like skating is great because you really don't there's not much you really need to do except just like go out and like have a filmer there and just like and then you just try the trick and then you know hopefully you land it. But so like with other stuff like it it's hard for me to like translate it into other stuff sometimes because skating is just so simple and that's what I love about it. um but yeah, I don't know,
Do you ever
there's
think,
just so much time like on everyone's hands that it's like, you know, you eventually just like get into other stuff.
yeah, I mean, it's like kind of notoriously known that as skating as a job, your schedule is kind of all over the place and your routines are, it just kind of has to be all over the place due to the traveling and due to all of that stuff. Is that something that you mind?
um I think like as I get older I crave more of like a routine for sure. When I was younger I never used to think about it, but like yeah, I think it's just like a basic like necessity, like a human instinct to just kind of like follow a schedule. And so I've been trying to introduce that more, um and just like try to have more discipline. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting having lived my whole life this way. Um because it's kind of like the opposite of like what everyone else had to go through, which is like it was like discipline first, and then maybe you like become successful, and then you like break out of that. Then you get to like do whatever you want. But it was kind of like for me, I just me and all my, a bunch of my friends, we just got to kind of explore, and now I'm just more aware of like the bad stuff that could happen. And yeah, so I think a little bit of structure is definitely a good thing.
Do you ever miss the days when you were younger and everything was more fresh and new? Like, it's easy to get jaded as time goes on. It's easy to, even the things that you love, be like, well, everyone does this, or everyone's so good at this, or everyone, it's like, it's not as impressive to you anymore, just naturally. Do you feel like you're enjoying yourself now just as much as you were back then?
Yeah, it's different. Before, you get enjoyment comes a lot easier, I think, and there's less consequences, and like um yeah, you can kind of just like do whatever you want and kind of just like get away with it. And now, um not that it's like less free, but there's just like more stuff that you have to think about. And I don't know, the just like the amount of days that you spend alive, like things become more mundane, I guess you could, um but so I think a big part of like keeping that passion for life is like gratitude, and like mindfulness, and like what's another good, just like you have to like cultivate happiness. Like I don't think it's really like it's something that just kind of happens to you. It's like you kind of have to play a part. You have to be like you know proactive in keeping like that kind of passion alive.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, um I do still feel like I still feel that same, excitement, and again, like I think now more so than ever, I really feel it because I'm healthy, and like I did go through kind of like some adversity, and I think with that, like what is that phrase, like it's darkest before the dawn. Like once you kind of go through a little bit of shit, then like just like a normal day like today, beautiful, sunny day, is just like I find it a lot. I can be like a little more appreciative of it, um like having gone through some kind of like dark times. So it's like the contrast, like uh it it yeah, I don't know if you do you know what
Yeah,
I'm
no, I
kind
know what you mean. So how do you feel today? How do you feel mentally or emotionally? now that you're on the tail end of the recovery process with your leg, and you have all these things that you're kind of looking forward to?
Oh, great, man. Yeah, good. Except that I recently hit my head.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's been kind of weird. Like,
So you got fully concussed?
I think so. I didn't knock myself out, but like the past like 2 or 3 days, I've been like getting tired at like weird times and just like kind of getting a little bit like moody. And so I kind of think maybe I have a minor concussion, but today, so other than that, I feel pretty good today. But yeah. Um, yeah, dude, really nothing. There's really nothing like too bad right now.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, I gotta say thank you for being willing to do this and talk about, talk about the stuff, because I feel like I'm sure you know it and I'm sure you get it, and but just for the sake of me saying it, it's like your life and the things that you've gone through, like, yeah, they are personal to you. However, you've influenced a lot of people, and a lot of people look to you towards some sort of inspiration, you know what I mean? And when I was like, I'm 27, and when I was like, however, fucking, I don't know, I guess 17, um, like the skateboarding that came through you and your crew, and the music, and the just like everything, it was very inspirational and kind of gave me, for lack of a better term, me and a lot of my homies and a lot of people just in general, something to, I guess, aspire to, and some sort of like, oh, this is sick, like I want to fuck with this type of shit, I want to, you know. And I had already been skating for quite a little bit, and however I was like, oh, this is like a new type of skating, kind of like I kind of had the same feeling that maybe you had when you started looking into Ave or started looking into Dill, and you were like, oh shit, like this is cool. It's just a different style. It's still skating, but it's kind of different from what I've been watching. And I just think that that's awesome to, to have that influence and have that sort of inspiration. So respect
Thanks, man.
for sure.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
Uh,
I'd like to add to that is to do like a boring or mundane thing with style that is like art, like something that's been people have been doing it for decades, which is just like skating and making videos and skate videos. And so to just take a different approach, and it's just cool because you can like renew it, and you can all it's still possible, like it's still happening. And so I really think it is like an art form. Skating is my favorite, probably one. Music as well, I think like they're like that for me. But yeah, dude, thank you so much.
sure.
Yeah.
I fully think it's an art form too. And I think that the medium is my opinion is that the medium is the persona, like the person themselves, rather than necessarily even the act of doing the skating. Like, especially like the older era, I look at like a John Cardiel, or I look at like a Jim Greco, and I see them as like, it's like the persona that is that is what is the art, and that is what, like, when whatever they do, that's why a lot of the skate videos, like sometimes they won't even be skating and they'll just be talking their shit, and that is like a pivotal moment, that little recording that went down like for 5 minutes or some shit after. And that is what I feel that captivates a lot of younger kids into skateboarding. Subconsciously, you're like, what was so ill about that? And what was ill about it is that you understood like what that just was, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah, almost like subconsciously, right? Like you kind of find people that you kind of relate to, and then you become like influent. Like I was very what do you call it, influenced um by my like favorite skaters. um yeah, and that's just such a thing that's inherent in skating. There's kind of no way like around that, which I think is really cool because you're always like referencing kind of like someone else or another kind of like motif. And yeah, yeah, I think it's something that skaters just unconsciously like understand. Um, so I love it.
But yeah, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it immensely. And yeah, thank you, man. I hope it all goes well for you, and I hope the Converse trip is cool. And if you're ever in New York and I see you around, you already know.
For sure, man. All right.
You,
All right, dude. Thank you.
peace.